Hello, my people! What's up? How are you doing today? Today, we are talking about Season 1, Episode 10, Derailed, and Ralph Totorici. This is one of my favorite episodes, and it's one of my favorites because this is Reed's first magic trick. Elle has been sent to Texas to do a custodial interview where they go into prison and interview a serial killer. And instead of renting a car at the airport, she takes a train because she wants to go over the file. She can't read and drive at the same time, so she took the train. So they're on the train, and this happens. This train is a doctor, a psychiatrist, that is escorting one of her patients to a conference about schizophrenia because she has weaned this guy off all his medication and says that he does not pose a danger. She was wrong. He wants to talk to the higher power. The BAU comes in and they are observing everything that's happening on closed circuit video. They get a phone in there to him, and Gideon calls him and tells him this is the higher power. And the local cop says, why don't you just tell him you're the FBI? And he said, we don't know what he thinks a higher power is. Saying that he's FBI just might set him off worse. And in fact, we know that it would have. Because this all started because Elle had an FBI folder that she was reading the case. And that was what set him off, along with the train stopping. He wants it taken out. He just keeps saying, I want it taken out. And they can see that he has scars on his arm. Figured out that he thinks there's a microchip in his arm and that he wants it out. I want to know, okay, any health professionals that are watching this, please tell me down in the comments if there's an answer to this question. There may not even be an answer to this question. Why is the microchip delusion so prevalent? Why do they all think they're microchipped? Reed does that thing where there's like nothing in their hand and then they do this thing and then they've got it. So Hotch takes his SIM card out of his phone and gives it to Reed to practice the little sleight of hand thing with. And Derek wants to do it because he doesn't want Reed to go in there and be put in danger. And Reed says, no, I've been practicing all my life how to do this. You won't be able to learn it in a few minutes. So he goes on the train. He's in a vest. He's been instructed to not take the vest off and to leave as soon as he gets the microchip out. And the first thing the guy does is tell Spencer to take his vest off. And then he won't leave afterward. He kept saying, turn it on. Turn it on. And Elle said he can't turn it on. It has to be inside your body to work. So they're trying to play into his delusions here so nobody else gets hurt. So a big part of the episode is learning about the history of the people on the train and why they're going to, I think it was Dallas, anyway, big city in Texas. There's a really funny bit at the end that I will put on the end of the video. So stay tuned to see the funny little interaction between Reed and Elle at the very end. So today we're talking about Ralph Totorici. He was a paranoid schizophrenic that took a class of State University of New York at Albany students hostage. State University of New York is abbreviated SUNY, so I'm gonna say SUNY Albany from now on because that's a mouthful. Let's get into it. My sources for this one, PBS.com. I did not watch the documentary. I couldn't find it. I looked for it. But there was an article basically saying everything that was said in the documentary on the PBS website. So I used that. There's a KarenFranklin.com. I think she's some kind of psychiatrist or psychologist or something. And there was another video on YouTube by a girl named Miranda Ramp. And I also got, as usual, info from Wikipedia. So Ralph Totorici was born in Albany, New York in 1968. He had a perfectly normal childhood until his teenage years when he started to become aggressive. In his 20s, they saw the first signs of schizophrenia. He was born with a condition called hypospadias, and it is when the male genitalia, instead of urinating from the tip, they urinate from underneath. He had 3 surgeries to correct this condition, and he believes that they put a microchip in him during these surgeries. He also believed he had microchips in his teeth, and he said that the doctor put one in his brain at birth as a government experiment. Hence my question, why is this such a common delusion? I don't understand. He had a list of all the people that he thought were against him, and it included his parents and his brother. He also said that voices were telling him to kill young girls. Thankfully, that never happened. This was a very dangerous individual, but he didn't kill anybody. He tried, but he did not succeed. After high school, he joined the National Guard and was recommended for the officer training program. So he must have had periods where the schizophrenia was not so apparent, because I don't think he would have been recommended for officer training school. He would have been discharged if they knew how sick he was. He was discharged in 1990, and then he went to college at SUNY Albany. He was aggressive on campus, and the students noticed it, and some were afraid of him, but he never committed a crime, so nothing was ever done about it. The courses that he studied fed in to his world conspiracy theories, delusions. He studied world religions, psychology, and government. So those 3 things fueled his delusions. So it actually made him worse. In August of 92, when he was 24 years old, he went to the SUNY Albany Medical Center and said that he had a microchip down there and he wanted an x-ray to prove it. He was referred to the Capital District Psychiatric Center. 4 months later, he was released, and then he went to a different police station in a different town and said that he had a microchip in his teeth, and his family and the government were tracking them with that microchip. He was once again referred to that same psychiatric center. When he got out, he started using drugs. His mom took him to Albany County Medical Center, where he was diagnosed with cocaine intoxication, depression, and suicidal ideation. He was arrested on November 29th for a minor cocaine possession charge. December 14th, 1994, 10 months after going to the hospital, 24-year-old Ralph Totorici took a class of 35 students hostage. The teacher, Hans Polsander, looked up when he walked in the room and asked him if he was in this class. And he had a duffel bag that had a hunting rifle, a .270 rifle, and a knife. There were a couple of doors that led to subterranean tunnels, I guess, to make it easier to get to other classes. I'm not sure what they were for. But anyway, he had the students barricade those doors with furniture. And some of the girls were crying hysterically. So he let the teacher, Paul Sander, go, and 2 students. Not much later, he let 3 more students go. And he told Paul Sander when he let him go, tell security, tell the governor, tell the police that I'm here. I want them to know that I'm here. So the teacher left, the other students left. He had the student Scott Gushlaw to take the fire hose and spray the hall with water from the fire hose to slow down the cops. He thought that the water would make the cops slip and slide and it would take him longer to get to him. And after that, he took the fire hose and he tied the doors shut. I'm assuming it's some kind of handle where he could wrap the fire hose around it, and it shut the doors to where nobody could get in to him. The hostages said that he was really aggressive when he was on the phone with the hostage negotiators, but he was friendly and jovial with them. He said, I know you guys have finals, I want you to study. He demanded food for the hostages, cigarettes for the hostages. He shared his own cigarettes with the hostages. He was nice to the hostages, except for one, and he didn't like him. And we don't know, or it's unclear as to why he didn't like him, but he eyed him nervously the whole entire time. So Paul Sander notified campus security. They notified the cops. State and local cops came in. There were 3 hostage negotiators that came in. He shot at 2 of them, but missed. And I don't know if they actually went into the classroom because he had it all boarded up. So I don't know how he shot at the hostage negotiators. Because usually they call. They get a phone in there and call. So I'm not quite sure. I really wish I could have found that documentary. If anybody can find the PBS Frontline documentary, A Crime of Insanity, can you link it for me down in the comments? Because I would really be interested in watching it. So because he had the class hostage, they canceled all the classes that were going on that day. And for some reason, a lot of students stayed around, milling around. I mean, I guess maybe they were curious. But seriously, I mean, if a gunman has come in and taken a whole classroom hostage, I'm not staying around. I'm going to get the heck out of there. He wanted to talk to President Clinton, the governor of New York, Mario Cuomo, and the financial officers at the college. And he threatened to kill the hostages if his demands were not met. 19-year-old Jason McAnany was the one that he was eyeing nervously, and he moved him to stand behind one of the barricades that they had put up in front of the door. Then 30 minutes later, he moved him again, and he had the rifle on him. Is there, imagine, like a college lecture hall, and there's aisles with stairs. So he's walking him down the aisle, and he's got the rifle on him. And Jason turned around, grabbed the rifle to wrestle it away from him. He got shot in the abdomen, groin, and thigh. And it was just one shot. So while they were wrestling, the gun went off, and it shot him in the abdomen and then down that way. He lived. Then, as he was wrestling the gun away, Ralph yelled, "There are no heroes in here, no heroes!" And then Jason Alexander, a 19-year-old freshman, grabbed him, and then 5 other students helped him pin him against the wall. Yuki Agagi, another student, untied the fire hose from the door so that the SWAT team could get in, and he was apprehended. As they were taking him away, he yelled, "Stop government experimentation!" He was charged with 14 counts of kidnapping, aggravated assault, and attempted murder. The prosecutor was Cheryl Coleman, and what she had to say is extremely enlightening. She said she only had to be in the room with him for 30 seconds to know that he was not competent. And in New York State, I don't know if it's still that way now, but back then, the defendant has to be competent to stand trial. They have to be able to assist in their defense. And the criteria for this is very low, so that there's hardly ever any insanity pleas that are granted. But before the trial started, he was examined by a court-ordered psychiatrist, and he ended up back in a mental hospital. At this time, he was diagnosed with delusional disorder and paranoid schizophrenia. Cheryl Coleman was told by the assistant DA to try the case and to try to prove that he was faking it. She looked for a psychiatrist that would say he was legally responsible for what he did. She could not find the first psychiatric expert that would say that. Nobody would say that. She wouldn't even say that. She believed he was crazy too. And during the trial, he was not present, because apparently you have the right to not be present at your trial. And the judge let him not be there. And the prosecutor said if he had just been a little bit less crazy, he would have realized by being in the courtroom and the jury witnessing his actions, he would have gotten off. But after he went to the mental hospital, he refused his medication, he refused to cooperate, he was aggressive with the staff, until March 3rd, 1995, when his whole demeanor changed. He started taking his medicine, cooperating with staff. He denied having any more delusions. However, a nurse did say she witnessed him talking to hallucinations. But at this point, he's judged competent to be tried. He just chose not to be there. 2 days into jury selection, Dr. Lawrence Siegel, I keep wanting to call him Dr. Spiegel. If y'all watch the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, you know who I'm talking about. But it wasn't Spiegel. Lawrence Siegel. And he said that he was extremely psychotic and that he couldn't even examine him. He was so bad. And he asked that the trial be postponed to a time where he could be examined and interviewed and help with his defense more than he could at that point. But the judge said no, and they went on with the trial anyway. Cheryl Coleman was told by the assistant DA to be very insulting to all of the psychiatric experts that the defense called. Her goal was to either disprove that he was crazy through the psychiatrist's testimony, or to prove that he was faking it. The trial started on January 3rd. Both sides rested their case on January 16th, and it went to the jury. The jury took 1 hour to come back with a verdict. The jury has never seen Ralph Totorici up to this part. He was found guilty of 4 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of aggravated assault, 1 first-degree assault, and 1 first-degree criminal use of a firearm. Why there's only 4 for kidnapping, I have no idea, because he kidnapped the whole class. But he got 4 counts. He was, however, in the courtroom for his sentencing. I wonder how many of those jurors looked at him and was like, oh dang, he's insane. Can I change my vote? I mean, seriously, I'm not trying to be funny or rude or insensitive, but think about it. If you were on that jury and you convicted this man without seeing him, and then you saw him and realized that he wasn't competent, what would you do? Seriously, what would you do? Discuss in the comments. I'm curious. I want to know what people would think if they were in that situation. He made some big rambling speech about being descended from the Roman Empire. I mean, the judge had to remove him. He was so disruptive. And the judge sentenced him to 20 to 47 years. And that was the maximum allowed for the charges that he got. In July of 96, he attempted to hang himself in his cell. And he was unsuccessful. And for the next 3 years, he got shuttled back and forth between prison and temporary stays at mental hospitals. Back and forth. 3 years. The last stay was a whole entire year in a mental hospital. That was Central New York Psychiatric Hospital. And by this time, he's 31 years old. And he seems to have improved mentally. So they sent him to a prison that has a mental health staff. July 14th of 99, he was sent to Sullivan Correctional Facility, which was one of 9 prisons. I don't know if that's in the state or the country, but one of 9 prisons that had level 1 psychiatric care. He was seen by mental health staff every day, and once a week he had some type of a treatment. I don't know if it was group therapy or it wasn't specific, but some type of treatment once a week, and then was seen by mental health staff every single day. His original parole date was October 2nd, 2011. His appellate lawyer tried to get him a new trial on the grounds that the judge did not heed the advice of the doctor that said that they should postpone the trial to a later time when he was better. And he lost the first appeal. They appealed again. He lost the second appeal. There was a third appeal scheduled to the U.S. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was going to render their decision in October. But unfortunately, Ralph Totorici hung himself again, and this time he succeeded. That was on August 10th, 1999. So in October, he could have gotten an appeal and a whole new trial, but he chose to kill himself instead. And the assistant DA at the time refused to give him a plea deal that would have put him in a mental hospital for the rest of his life, rather than the back and forth between hospital and prison and hospital and prison. Very, very sad story. I imagine that would have been terrifying for the students that were being held hostage. But this was a very sick person. I don't know. Like, you know, we talked with the UT bomber. He had a brain tumor. Does that excuse violent behavior? Do brain abnormalities or illnesses excuse violent behavior? Can these people just be cured or treated or whatever and then be allowed back in society? Let me know what you think down in the comments. That's a real gray area. I think it's a gray area. And I really don't have an answer for it. On one hand, you have the families of people that are killed or injured, and you want retribution for that. But at the same time, if the person is sick, it doesn't excuse it, but put him in a mental hospital for the rest of his life. Put him away where he can't hurt anybody else, but in a mental hospital where he can get treatment. So that's the story of Ralph Totorici and the episode Derailed. Don't forget to subscribe so you can be entered into the giveaway to win the Time Life book, Mysteries of the Criminal Mind. Share, like, hit the bell for notifications. Talk to me down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts about the episode. And I will see you next time. Bye.